Oh, are we live?
I think so.
Okay. It didn't say, okay, now it is. Okay, we're live. Hello. You're live for What's Alive. Hi, thank you. We're streaming to our Facebook page, Unlock Your Design Facebook page, and our YouTube. So if you're commenting on either of those, we'll check the comments. But generally, we like to come live once a week to just talk about what's alive. Generally right before our Portals of Deconditioning call. Today in transit, we're on the cusp of the 39, and we call this archetype the Liberator. And then it moves from provocation to liberation through the pathway of dynamism. And on the other side of this is the Initiator, which is immaturity to superabundance through the pathway of expansion. And big energy for me personally, and I know for Bella too, because of what's going on astrologically as well. So I don't know, it's super exciting. So Bella, do you want to start with like what's alive for you?
Yeah, I was looking at the chart yesterday and I believe it's still like that. Yeah, because we have the sun in 39 and we have Jupiter in 55. So that channel of emoting or romance is there. And we know it's like hope and despair. And I also, like you were saying, actually, in my case, I have Uranus in the second gate in my life's work. And Uranus is kind of revolutionary and shakes things up. So both with that 39, 55, 39 being my north node, and then Jupiter, that expansion from victimization to freedom, that's for the collective, for all of us. I feel like, it's stirring in me. And I just discovered a method that seems to be chiropractic together with Tantra. And I like that it's based on chiropractics because in the work I do, there's always a little bit of that stigma, Tantra and sexuality, but here it's really based on chiropractic. And but it's understanding the energy of the body, the spiral energy in the body, and how actually the energy moves from the densest to the more subtle. So I just had this remembrance, and we have Venus now being in 33 and then Saturn in opposition in 19, so codependence and kind of forgetting why we're here, to a higher frequency of remembrance and an interdependence. And I feel like this goes back to actually the nervous system as well, and like the hyper vigilance that we can have when we have what we have been speaking about, when we have things in our lives and then it just repeats. And I could feel myself in that cycle this morning of despair. Oh, I can't trust. And it's like it's just a story that repeats itself, where I'm keeping myself stuck in that vigilance of like it's gonna happen again kind of thing. And then as I was tuning into more of like starting to allowing the energy to move, because the energy knows how to move, I just had this big release of like just crying, remember who I am, and this like being like, that's trivial. Why am I even angry, about that? And kind of coming back also to the inner child and in a way parenting her, because it's, the connection back in with the innocence, then those things don't matter anymore. But as adults and stuck in our mind, we can bitch about it forever and keep repeating the same patterns. But everything is just energy. So when we can stop and observe what's going on, and coming back to peace, then things can actually by themselves. And for me, what I always say, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, is like always in the densest. I can work in the non-physical, but the non-physical has a million possible ways of translating into the physical. But when I start with the densest, which is already this one manifestation of this, then it's always going to open up. So for me, that's why I always start with the densest, with the physical, with the nervous system, with the emotions, and then mind and more subtle layers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the video that you shared with me. That's the work that Matt K is doing with me with my nervous system. I started to work with a Meshe, who Simone referred me to, working with my nervous system, and then I felt this pull, like I need hands-on body work, and I had never done body work before. My husband thinks I'm going for massages, so I was like, it's like low touch. It's like literally you're just touching places and like the energy is moving. So it's like, it's the spiral. And I've seen people that he's worked on for a while because he's working on opening up your interoception and knowing, letting your body move the way it needs to move. And like, it does these weird movements, but it's like, you can't even control it. Like you surrender to it because it's like, it's a correction. You know, it's like it's weird. Like I'll be laying on the table and he'll take my feet and he'll lift them up and like cross them or do things because he needs to see like how my spine is aligned or something. I don't even know what he's doing. But then he'll like touch a place on my body and then I have to breathe into that place and it like my body moves. There's a little bit of resistance in me because I'm not used to it, but I've seen people that are like way more receptive to like allowing that energy to flow. So he always has to have me breathe into the place. And like, we even have to like give my body a job so that it's not focused on like how it should move. And when I get up in my head, it's just super cool. And a lot of things have been shifting and activating for me just from working with the physical body. And like, that's what I've learned from him too, is like, it's not about working with the thoughts and the emotions because that's already far out here. And so like Bella was saying, so much can be going on here. And there's always like an access point. So if you can just like go into your body and tune into like, and use your interoception to be like, all right, where is this sensation? Or where is this feeling? And it's not like an emotional feeling. It's like, where can I feel that the energy's like blocked or stuck, or there's just something, where's my awareness going to? And then breathing into that space expands it, and then stuff opens up from it. And I know that as I've been working with my nervous system, like I'm noticing the patterns that I keep myself locked into. Like Bella was saying, you can keep running the same patterns and programs and then you don't grow, you don't evolve. But as you start working with your nervous system and changing like what your decisions, your nervous system's like, oh, what I thought was going to be the outcome here wasn't. So it's like shocked. And then it's like, I can let go. I can open up more. You know, it's like we get so stuck in the past and protecting ourselves from, you know, what we think is going to happen. Our nervous system won't make space for it. So we feel contracted, or we say no because it's comfortable. But if you can push past the uncomfortable part, the energy starts to move and it starts to disperse. You know, it's like the blockage that was there is no longer there, but it's like, it's just so cool to witness and see the energy moving and shifting just by you choosing something different, and like situations and experiencing coming to you to because your nervous system is ready. I feel like if your nervous system is so locked down, you don't even allow yourself to attract these situations and circumstances to have that expansion because you're so shut down. But when you start working with your nervous system, they come and you have the potential to grow and expand or go back and retract and retreat like you always have done. So it's cool to have the awareness to see when these situations are coming and knowing that this could be a big leap for you, and it could open up so much room in your bandwidth and your nervous system, and things could start to shift for you. But you got to have the courage to say yes when it's more comfortable to say no. So I'm going to share that. That's what's alive for me. All this nervous system stuff. Simone, did you want to like, is there anything?
Oh, I mean, what's coming up for me as I listen to y'all is that, you know, for a really long time, I've done this modality called Feldenkrais. And I came to Feldenkrais after I had knee replacement. So do the energetic math of that one, you know, I was in a car accident, my knee hit the dashboard, but of course I was angry about the past. So anyway, I'm doing Feldenkrais, and Feldenkrais is the physics and geometry of bones combined with the nervous system. And I remember this session, I was on my back, and the way you retrain your nervous system in Feldenkrais is you do these micro movements in the body and you retrain, you know, you're opening up pathways, just what you were talking about, creating a new pathway so that the body can do something. And so I remember I was on my back and she had my arms and my hands up in the air. And she was asking me to do this very, very small micro movement. And I couldn't do it. And what we were talking about was, as I'm on my back and she's giving me the, you know, the commands and stuff, or, you know, sometimes it's as simple as your eyes are closed, but you make your eye move a certain way. It's very micro in the physical. And I remember I was telling her this story about something that I couldn't shift in my life and how frustrated I was. And she's asking me to do this micro movement in my physical vessel. And I was like, I can't do it. And my practitioner is an old friend of mine. And so she just in that moment, she just walked away. Like, she didn't even respond to me. She just walked away into the other room. And there I am, and my hands are up above my head, and my feet are up in the air. And I was like, I can't do it. And then I just, like, I breathed, and I allowed myself some breath. And I remember it happened. I was able to do it like on my left side, on my non-dominant side. And then once I had it with the left side, then I was able to replicate it on my right side. And eventually she came back in, and I was actually doing the movement. But what was so powerful for me was not just that I could do the movement in Feldenkrais, but what happened was, I remember, this is a really long time ago, and I was teaching online, and I know teaching online is like breathing now. We do it all, we take everything online. But back then it was like on the leading edge of life. And I was one of the first people at my college to teach online. And I was having this challenge in my online classes. And that's what I was frustrated about when I was on my back, and that was a story that I was telling her. And I remember I went home and everything broke open. Like, I had this awareness that I had been such on the cutting edge of teaching online at the college that I was a forerunner, and I never thought to look at it from a different point of view. And I remember going home, and within the week I had reached out to a colleague and I said, can I teach your class? And she was like, why would you want to teach my class? You've been doing this forever. I go, I want a new point of view. I want to see things differently. I want to have a different experience than the one I create. And I want to live that experience. And so I taught her class, and it opened everything up for me. Like, I saw things so new, and all of that from the physical stuckness, all of that opened up for me being present with the physical stuckness in the nervous system and being able to move through that. And I'm always so grateful for my practitioner, Tammy, because she walked away. Like, in that moment, she didn't need to solve my challenge for me. And her wisdom of just walking away and letting me struggle, and be in the moment and be physically present with my body. So I completely love all these modalities that allow us to have the lived experience of our nervous system in our physical form. It's just so powerful.
Were you in the Superman pose? Was that the pose you were in, and you had to do like a micro movement from where your legs and your arms were up?
Yeah, like literally I was on my back, and my, like my
you were on your back. Okay.
Yeah, I was laying flat on my back.
Superman.
Yeah. Or kind of like
you had to save yourself. Save yourself.
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm not saving you. Goodbye. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I was kind of, and it's so interesting because I was actually in a pose like a baby does. You know how when babies are on their backs and they have their arms up and their feet up, and that's so interesting because I just had an amazing healing with food that was related to grief. And so my evolution is 35, and that's hunger, adventure, boundlessness. And I had this experience that I hadn't had in a really long time where I overate. And what I overate was I had 3 half sandwiches of peanut butter and jelly. And the next day, I felt horrible in my sleep. And the next day, instead of making myself wrong, I was just going into that energy of, why did I create this? Why, and what does the peanut butter have to do? And that took me back to being a baby and not, I have this texture thing with food. I don't like soft food. And I guess that's been since birth, because my mom tells stories about she and my grandmother trying to hold me down to shove cereal into my mouth, and they couldn't hold me down and force cereal. So they figured out that I would eat peanut butter. And so instead of cereal, they fed me peanut butter. And when I was just kind of contemplating this whole experience of hunger in my evolution, and I got to the peanut butter, I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm unpacking something from my nervous system, if I'm in a nervous system loop that triggered. And then the more I felt into it, I felt grief. So I reached out to Ameshe, who we're both working with. And I said to her, I had this experience. I overate. This is my evolution. It relates to peanut butter. I'm in grief because of my dad, and who is in the last stages of Alzheimer's. And I think there's something there. And it was so magnificent to hear her describe, and I'm just putting it all together. I'm so grateful for this experience right here now that we're living, because she was talking about the muscles of when you're a baby. And that instance, when I was doing the Feldenkrais session, was the same muscles. I was in like a baby pose. So I was working on that same nervous system loop, 12. Maybe if we did the math, we might be in a 14-year cycle. Seriously, I kid you not. We may be like almost the exact 14-year cycle. So,
Closure.
right.
Ending. Oh, we're in the gate of beginnings, and you have the 41, and it's like, I don't know. Endings have to come before beginnings too. So it's a good place to be in the shift. So,
but also, what I want to circle back around to something Bella was talking about at the beginning, because going into the 53, the initiator, my partner's evolution is the 53. He has superabundance in his evolution. And I've just been watching him, play with that at a different vibratory level this cycle around. And so I was really grateful for what you shared at the beginning, Bella, about all of those pathways. Brought more awareness to what we're entering.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, Simone, when I hear you speak, what stays with me is this change of meaning, or we could call it reframing, because what that peanut butter meant to you, there needed to be a reframe, like a new meaning of it, because the meaning that the body had stayed with was what meaning it had when you were a child that you didn't even remember, but that stayed. And that's the same thing that I was saying this morning. Like I was in an old pattern of the meaning of what that was, but shifting that meaning, finding a way. And that's often we have to come back to the densest, like I say, the physical, because that's where the imprint sits. And when it changes there, like in how you eat, in how, that is really the densest and more basic, but that's the fundamental. And then it can shift for you in all the other layers, so that the emotions can come out, and the thoughts around it, and how it's kind of blocking your spirituality or your life force. Like all that is like a ripple effect of the reframing, of the new meaning of something that we might not even remember. So that's also, I guess, our work with what we are doing with people, is to go back to that point and being able to hold that point, and to be safe enough to even remember it. And knowing that whatever expression the body takes, whether we're crying, whether we're screaming, like whatever comes out, trusting that, because it's a way for the body to reframe, and like Ashley is saying, like to adjust, so that we can move in an energy that is more true, which is the spiral energy of our spine. And like it's funny how the human being is made to move, and how our spine works, and how all the nerve, like it's amazing, like how the apparatus of the human body is built, and how energy moves through it.
And it's interesting too, like talking about the spirals and letting and allowing your body to move. What I found was super difficult in doing body work is it's easier for me to sit up and let the energy move than for me to be face down on a bed. There's something about not knowing what's going on because of the control that I'm working through, like releasing control. If I can't release control, then I can't be vulnerable on the bed, laying down with I can't go this way because I'm laying down on a table and the threat is coming from behind me and I don't even know what they're doing. If he lets me know if he's going to like actually make contact with my body, but normally he's like working with the energy or whatever, and sometimes he touches certain spots, but like when I know he's there but he's not doing anything, it makes me super uncomfortable, because the Libra in me is like, how can I help? What am I supposed to do? What is he going to do? So I have all these things happening. And sometimes I have to sit up on the table and like let the energy move. And I'm usually like rocking and swaying. And one time I was in child's pose because I just had to go there and I needed to get up off of the bed because I'm working through a lot of that control stuff. So it's hard sometimes to work with your body, especially if you struggle with control, you know, and being in control, you know, and the surrender is the hugest thing for me, and surrendering into like whatever's happening, whatever I'm feeling, and breathing into that instead of like making it go away or controlling the situation. So
Yeah, and actually, I know we have to go soon, but I completely see that side of it. And I think for me, it's super easy to be in that space because that's where I've been through my tantric work. Like that's the space, the void, the space of the spirals is where I'm most home. But when I'm not feeling safe in my everyday, I go into the more masculine and the more goal oriented, and I don't allow myself to be there. So that's another variant, like in a way that kind of leads to the same, not allowing us to be in the truth of who we are. But to know that we all have like a variant of pushing ourselves out of that truth of the movement that wants to come through us.
Love it. And I love that all of this is coming up while we're in the liberator and we're moving toward the initiator, and to understand that, you know, the cosmos is helping us be liberated, provoked and liberated. And as we were talking, I was wondering, you know, to the people who join us and follow us and communicate with us, what's being provoked within you right now? And what are you doing with the provocations in your life? You know, are you using them for initiation? You know, I could have the next day after I had that peanut butter and jelly, I could have woken up and made myself wrong and bad and you know, been in the story of it. But instead I was like, oh, this is interesting. I made some interesting choices, and I, instead of making myself wrong, I chose to like go into, well, what, you know, what's going in me, what's the loop here? And so can we use our provocation as a deep dive into ourself of, you know, what loop am I in, and what is there to uncover, and to know that you have us to do that with, you know, message, you know, write a post in our Facebook group and the inner circle or in Unlock Your Design, and share your provocations with us. Join us in pod and do it with a group where we're all looking at how the cosmos is affecting us. And you know, we're here, we're with you. We're in the same energy you are, moving through our own microcosms of that. Yeah.
thank you.
And also how we all do body work, you know, like we're on our journey, but we all also value body work as we are going through our journey.
Including the body. Yes. Yeah. And so we actually have to hop off because we're gonna go and hold our portals of deconditioning call now for the 39 and the 53. But again, thank you for being with us and also hearing about what's alive in us. And I hope that because if you watch this live and if you're here at this part of the live, then maybe like body work or nervous system work or any of that kind of stuff, maybe it is calling to you, or maybe you're already doing it. So if you are, we would love to hear, like Simone said, please share. And if you're interested in joining us in one of our containers, you know where we're at. But thank you so much.